emocije, okidači, obrasci ponašanja. Upoznaj sebe, sada i ovde.
Prijatelj emisije Perfetto.
Dobar dan. Veliko mi je zadovoljstvo što je sada i ovde u našem podcastu na Hype televiziji Barbara O'Neill, vodeći svetski naturopata, nutricionista i stručnjak za prirodnu medicinu, a kako ona najviše voli da kaže, koja ima učenja i predavanja i dokaze o tome da je naše telo u stanju da isceli samo sebe. Na koji način i u kom smislu su prirodna medicina i klasična medicina podudarne, dopunjavaju jedna drugu, a u kom smislu su same dovoljne sebi, o tome kakav je status naših hormona, kako da popravimo stanje sa našim plućima i alergijama, zbog čega su creva toliko važna i ceo naš crevni trakt za zdravlje celog našeg organizma, kako uopšte da se nosimo sa toksinima, zagađenjem i mnogo toga drugog vezano za zdravlje našeg tela i za zdrave stilove života, jer Barbara takođe smatra da je ako živimo zdravo i hranimo se zdravo, zagarantovano da ćemo dugo živeti u zdravlju. Barbara, hello and thank you for coming to the Hype TV and to Sada i ovde podcast.
It's good to be here.
And thank you for coming to Serbia.
Yes, I've never been before.
Yeah. I just said to my Serbian audience, because this is going to be translated, that you are the leading naturopath, nutritionist, and what you prefer to say is that you tell people that our body is capable of healing itself. So, to start with, please tell me, why are we ill? Why are we sick?
Well, the fact is we were designed to be well. Mm-hmm. And if we are not well, there is always a reason. And this is something many people don't explore today, and many health professionals don't explore, because the fact is there is always a reason. Mm-hmm. If someone is sick, there is a reason. So it's important to investigate and find out, well, what has happened that the body is doing these things, because the body is designed to heal itself.
So what is happening? Why? What are the reasons?
What are the reasons? And the only way to find that out is to look at the history. And if someone says to me, my knee's sore, so my first question is, well, did anything ever happen to that knee? And sometimes it might be an old injury. And then I ask, are you carrying excess weight? Because knees don't like it when you carry excess weight. Mm-hmm. So if there is excess weight being mm-hmm. carried, then that needs to be addressed. Then I say, are you drinking adequate water? Because
water?
The best water, filtered
adequate.
water.
I didn't hear
because the plates around all the joints, they move beautifully when we're well hydrated, because that fluid around the joints is called synovial fluid. Mm-hmm. If we're dehydrated, we may not have as much water around that joint as we should have. So, and the other thing I might ask for the sore knees, what sort of work do you do? Are you on your knee or your feet all day so your knees are carrying excess weight? And then I look at the footwear. Maybe it's because the footwear is maybe stiletto heels on their feet all day long. Well, the knee's going to complain about that. So I investigate, because there is always a reason.
Mm-hmm, sure. Well, there is a reason for probably even more serious disease that we are going to talk about, as heart disease, weak bones, and that something can really influence our being alive or just leave this planet. So please tell me, what are the most common mistakes that we make in our lifestyles to provoke not being well and get disease?
Probably the most common complaints, or the mistakes leading to complaints, are most people are dehydrated. Mm-hmm. And the body must be well hydrated. There's a book by an Iranian doctor called One of the Body's Many Cries for Water, and his other title is He's Not Sick, He's Thirsty, and the other title is Don't Treat Thirst with Medications. Uh-huh. And he goes through all the body from the top of the head, showing that the brain won't work properly unless it's hydrated, to the eyes, to the mouth. He goes through the whole body and he shows at every point the problems that can arise simply because of dehydration.
How do we know we are dehydrated or not enough hydrated?
Well, one of the problems is different people can have different symptoms. And losing the thirst or even gaining too much thirst, not even they are symptoms. And that's why his book says he's not sick, he's thirsty. So the best really way to know is to just check how much water you're drinking a day. We should be drinking at least 2 litres, so that would be 8 glasses of water a day. I say to people, start early. And if you drink 2 litres all at once, you're going to be dehydrated by the end of the day. So it has to stretch out over the day, because we lose approximately 2.5 litres of water a day.
And sometimes we need to drink water during the night.
That's right. So I suggest people go to bed with a glass of water next to their bed, and if they are awake in the night, have a couple of mouthfuls.
Yes, exactly. That's what I do. But maybe I will now jump to another topic that just came up from your Instagram today to me, that people have lost the habit of breathing through the nose.
That's right. They absolutely have.
And so many people, including myself, are complaining of always having the blocked nose, and we don't know why. So let's start with
Well,
that.
I can tell you why.
Please do.
And again, it can be different in different people. It's usually an allergy. Whenever there's an allergy, excess mucus is created up in and around the eustachian tubes. The most common allergens will be breathing in chemicals. Breathing in mold is a common one, but also foods. And there are 5 common mucus-forming foods that can be the problem. One is dairy, one is wheat, one is oats, another is peanuts, and another is refined sugar. And people say to me, but Barbara, I've been eating those all my life. And I said, maybe so. But sometimes it's like the straw that breaks the camel's back. Sometimes there can be a couple of issues in the life and problems can arise, even though you've been eating that food all your life. But to clear those eustachian tubes, we need to address, have we got exposure to chemicals? Are we breathing in mold? And eliminate those 5 foods.
Yes. But we normally live in the flats. They are dry. So how do we know if we inhale mold, for example?
You can have the air tested. And I know I'm very sensitive to it. And so my personal assistant, Jacqueline, is too. And as soon as we walk in a room, we can smell it. But people living in that room cannot smell it because they are so used to it. But you can get the air tested.
Ah, the air, you mean in our environment.
That's right.
At home. Yeah, that's very important.
Yes, it is.
Actually, when we hear you talk, everything seems so easy. But why do you think it takes it so hard for people to get those easy habits and stay well?
I think it's because through the media, and I know myself as a child, I was brought up to think if I get sick, it's because there's a germ. I need to go to the doctor. He'll give a drug. It'll kill the germ. I will be better. So we're brought up with that. And then when I trained as a nurse, I also that same theory. But, you know, I looked around and I thought it's not really working. And I think that's why my lectures, my presentations have really exploded. It surprises me. But I think it's because people are wanting something that works. They're wanting something simple. And so that's what I like to do. I like to not only give solutions, but I like to teach how you can do it. And you can even buy mouth tape today and sleep with your mouth taped up to encourage nose breathing. It's the best way to clear the nose, and you won't die.
Yeah. So what happens if my nose gets blocked and I type my lips? So I'll just wake up.
Well, it's actually the easiest way to clear the nose is to tape the mouth. But I say to people, eliminate those 5 common allergens. It wouldn't hurt for everyone to give it a go. It can take at least 2 months to see a full result. And you put the mouth tape on underneath your nose to your chin, so maybe an hour a day, and then after a week, then you sleep with it because there's a pathway in your brain that's starting to accept the taping up of the mouth, so you don't wake up in the middle of the night terrified because you don't seem to be able to breathe. But the easiest way to clear your nose is to tape the mouth up.
Yeah. There are so many topics. Hormones, it's a big topic that you are lecturing also during your visit in Serbia. So let's start with that big problem of the nowadays people. Are there a lot of hormonal disbalances today, and why?
There's a huge amount, and absolutely there is always a reason. We have to go back to 1957 when the first contraceptive pill was introduced. And the pill was introduced so that women could have sexual freedom, being able to have sex without having a baby. But what no one really questioned, people are starting to question it today, but back then, 1960s is called the sexual revolution. What no one ever thought about was, what was that pill doing? And what it does is it causes a hormone disruption by putting synthetic hormones into the woman. So that's a long time ago now, but what we're seeing today is the daughters and the sons of the women who were on the pill. Mm-hmm. And we've also got a lot of women on the pill. So that has caused it. And what it does is it disrupts the hormones, and then the woman will give birth to a baby who's got a bit of a disruption in their gene pool.
So what disruption may a child have if the mother uses the pill?
One of the first symptoms that there is a disruption is a young child going into menstruation, young woman starting to menstruate at the age of 9 and 10. You see, that is not normal. Normal is about 16 to 18.
Oh, well, today almost everyone is by 12 menstruating.
That's right. So that's an indication. And then you've got some girls that are menstruating early, and another symptom can be heavy periods, painful periods, growths in the reproductive organs like fibroids, endometriosis, polycystic ovarian syndrome, even leading to serious things like uterine, ovarian cancer, breast cancer. So there's some of the symptoms, and different women can have different symptoms.
Yes, but is it only about the pill? Because, for example, I never took the birth control pill. My mother didn't take it. But still, and a lot of women didn't.
That's right.
But there are still disorders in their bodies and in their children's bodies, especially girls. What else could be the reason?
So there certainly is something else, and that is the chemicals we're exposed today.
Like what?
Especially the chemicals in plastics. In the molecular structure of estrogen, and estrogen is probably the main problem because when estrogen levels get high, that causes the growths. So we've got, in plastics, we've got nonylphenol, or some are translated as phenol. We've got nonylphenol, and what that does is that softens the plastic. And we've also got bisphenol A, or bisphenol A, and that's found in just about every plastic. So I'm very happy to see a glass bottle here. That the water is in. And it's like the dripping tap on a stone, little by little by little. We're also seeing these xeno or estrogen mimickers in clothes. You see, there are 3 fabrics that were created in a chemical laboratory: nylon, acrylic, and polyester. And so many of women's clothes today, their underwear, their bras, their nightwear. We're even getting sheets made out of these fabrics. And the skin is an organ that when these fabrics touch, especially on a hot day like today out there, and we perspire, the pores open, and little by little we're absorbing these estrogen mimickers.
So what can we do about it now once we have been influenced by all of these stuff that we couldn't actually avoid? It's also important to tell people you're not guilty for not knowing this before, but I believe it's never too late. And later you will tell me, is it ever too late?
Well, that is a very important point, and I say it to women all the time. It is not your fault that you're on the pill before you had your baby. It's not your fault that you're wearing polyester clothes. You did not know.
Yeah.
So what can you do? One more point, it's also the growth stimulants given to chickens and given to animals that's coming through in the meats. So what can you do about it? Stop what causes it. Ladies, start buying natural fibre like cotton, and viscose is made from bamboo. Modal is made from the birch tree, and also rayon. So this blue dress I have on is rayon, and this little coat I have on is made out of cotton. So I go to
So rayon is good because it is also elastic. So you don't have to use lycra, yeah.
No, it's made out of wood pulp. And what often happens, a little bit of elastine is put in. I don't worry if it's mostly cotton and a little elastine, or I have some modal stockings that are a little elastine. That's perfectly fine, as long as it's predominantly made out of natural fibre. And that's where I see my main role is that of an educator, educating people as to where the dangers lie. And one of our guests said to me, Barbara, I'm going to have to throw all my clothes out. And I said, well, little by little, start building up your wardrobe, just being aware. And please, mothers, be aware of what you're dressing your children in, because it's starting early. But also the technology, that's another one. The worst place for your laptop is on your lap. I say protect the family jewels, men and women.
Yes. So is it enough if we put that stuff that is designed to be under the laptop and then put it on?
Well, ideally on a table or a bench or something like that. So be careful of the children. And ladies, please don't put your mobile phone in your bra. They're finding women developing breast cancer in the breast where the phone was regularly in the bra. So
I never saw anyone wearing the phone in the bra, but we always keep it in our hand.
So what a lot of sports ladies do.
Sports ladies.
They're working out, and you can even buy a sports bra today with a pocket in it. So,
thank you for telling us this.
So yes, number one is to turn the tap off. If you don't turn the tap off, you're still going to be mopping up in the other corner.
What is tap?
The tap meaning if the tap drips, we're still going to get a flood. But you've got to turn that tap off.
You mean symbolically?
Yeah, symbolically.
Cool. I'm sorry, because we were just talking about technology.
I realise it's my Australian accent.
No, it's fine. I understand you perfectly well. Thank you.
So that's the first step, and the next step is herbs. And that's the good news, that there are herbs that can help to rebalance or restore balance in that hormonal imbalance.
So can we use some herbs just by your recommendation, or do we have to consult an expert who can tell the dosage?
No, not necessarily. And the beauty of the herbs, and Psalm 104 verse 14, the Bible says, God gave herbs for the service of man. I love that description. The herbs come into you and they work with you. And that's why you don't need an expert to know the dose. You just apply the herbs. And specifically, the most effective is the wild yam. And the wild yam can be made into a cream, applied to the skin twice daily, 3 weeks a month. And little by little by little, it can restore the balance.
Without making any disorder, like having too much of something?
No, because it works with the body. That's why I like that verse, serving you.
So it's actually the intelligent herb.
Well, medicine calls it synergism. Synergism meaning working with the needs of the body. I look at it like this. God created the body to heal. He created the herbs. They work together.
Yeah. Okay, well, now let's talk age by age. Well, so let's start with menopause. It's a big topic because I think half of the women in the world are already, because, the nations, most of the nations, especially in the West, are older, not so many. There are young, but there are a lot of people who are over 45, over 50. So tell us about the hormonal disbalance in menopause and how to survive that period of our life.
It is true. It is. There are some countries that don't even have a word for menopause, but certainly in more the Western countries, women are suffering. And I said to one woman, were you on the pill? She said, oh, that was 30 years ago. I said, it was 30 years ago, but it threw the balance out and it is still out. And if the pill was not in the equation, then I explore the clothes they're wearing. I explore their diet. I explore many areas that we just previously touched on, that what could have thrown them out. Mm-hmm. But the same remedy applies. Mm-hmm. You see, this incredible body is ever wanting to restore balance. And once you give it the right conditions, then it will. And that's where the yam cream. I helped a 9-year-old girl who'd got her periods at 9. So she had a hormonal imbalance. And I met a 92-year-old lady who was applying the cream. 92, yes, she'd long passed any imbalances causing through menopause, but she had osteoporosis. And this hormonal imbalance can contribute to osteoporosis.
Yeah, so how do we actually, if you go and measure from your blood, you will see normally, let's say, usually, the decrease of the sex hormones like estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, and it happens with certain age, which, as doctors say, and as we feel, causes the problem in health, including osteoporosis and hormonal disbalance. Are you saying that it is possible to not have?
Yes. Yes, I do, because let me give you an illustration. So number one hormone should be progesterone, then estrogen. That's the correct balance. Will keep strong, healthy bones, because progesterone stimulates the bone-building cells. But what the contraceptive pill does, it causes an imbalance. Mm-hmm. It causes a drop in progesterone, happy hormone, and a rise in estrogen that is a cell proliferator, causing all of these growths, the hot flushes. So if you have an imbalance and go through menopause, yes, the hormones drop, but can you see they're still out of balance? Mm-hmm. And so even if a woman has been through menopause and has the symptoms that we've discussed, she still needs to get that balance back. And that's where the wild yam cream can help.
So, but what can we tell the women who haven't used the pill, the birth control pill, and suffer this kind of imbalance, and are suggested using some hormones, like they are now transdermal, they don't take it orally, just as sprays or as creams, or as there is a spiral with the progesterone that is being given to stop extra bleeding. So what do you think about that?
One of the problems is they're synthetic hormones, whereas the herbs, they stimulate the hormone pathways in the body. But when a woman is given the progesterone, whether it be cream, whether it be through the mouth, the absorption through there, whether it be a patch, she testifies to me that she got initial results, and that's because progesterone was put in the body. But then I have so many women that have told me after 6 months, maybe a year, it's not doing it anymore. And the reason is that if you keep putting progesterone into the body stops making it. But the beauty of using herbs is it stimulates your body to make its own. And so I advise those ladies to go over to the herbal creams. And then they tell me, that's better.
Yeah, so you say that our body can produce estrogen and progesterone even in the age of 55, 60, that's 65, right. 90.
So it's our ovaries that do that. And when we go through menopause, even though we are not menstruating anymore, our ovaries are still making the hormones. But if a woman, unfortunately, has had her ovaries and her uterus removed, her adrenal glands can kick in. And so still, we've got incredible body that adapts and adjusts whatever has happened. And that's why as soon as you start giving it the right conditions, it will respond.
Yes. Yeah, so because in the past, doctors used to recommend, okay, let's take away your uterus. You don't need it anymore. Although you didn't have cancer or anything, you just had maybe extra bleeding, which could be stopped differently. Or you had some myoma changes or anything that is not so dangerous. And then they were taking away let's say, healthy organs. So you wouldn't recommend...
No, I do not. And I was listening to a presentation by an obstetrician, and he claimed that up to 90% of hysterectomies are unnecessary. Mm-hmm. And whenever I meet a lady that's had a hysterectomy, I ask her, why? And they say, well, I was bleeding heavily. Mm-hmm. But if she had known to go on the yam cream and balance the hormones, that would ease the bleeding. So what I like to look at, well, why is she experiencing heavy bleeding?
Why could we experience heavy bleeding?
Often the reason for heavy bleeding could be fibroids, it could be polycystic ovarian syndrome, it could be endometriosis, but all of those situations are remedied by balancing the hormones.
Okay, so why could we develop these, let's say, disorders?
And the reason these are developed were either exposure to the pill or exposure to environmental poisons or eating a lot of chickens that have had estrogen as growth stimulants. So there's all these other areas that are contributing to the imbalance.
Okay, so let's now say which food you would strongly not recommend, because normally people eat what they can buy, what they're used to, what their grandmas did. So is there anything that you would, let's say, prohibit?
Well, it depends on the person. I personally am a vegetarian, and I choose to be a vegetarian because the meat today is not good meat. I know in Australia and also in America, a lot of cows aren't even eating grass. Some are eating roadkill. They're given antibiotics. They're given drugs. Sometimes if they do eat grass, it's been sprayed with DDT. And then it's the way they're killed. And then our gastrointestinal tract is about 10 metres long. Dogs, it's 1 metre long. It's in and out quick. So there's lots of reasons why I don't eat meat. If someone says, but I live on an organic farm and we have organic cows and it's good, and I said, well, if you're going to eat meat, that is the best, but make sure you eat a lot of vegetables that'll move it through fast. So that is, so again, I hesitate to say never, because some people are on organic farms and can get good meat, but personally I choose to just eat plants.
So, but if people cannot live that way or choose not to or find it too difficult, because as we know, people just don't like changing habits unless they are ill. Even if they are ill, I think one of the biggest problem is dietary change for everyone.
That's right. And that's why I like to come in with solutions of how you can do it. Now, I grew up a fifth-generation Australian Scottish descent, so I grew up with sausages or chops, mashed potato, frozen peas or beans every single night. That's how I grew up. But when I became 18, 19, I had a friend who was a vegetarian. I'd never heard of such a thing, so I decided to try vegetarian, and I felt so good. I felt very good. And that's when I started to explore the area of legumes or beans, lentils, chickpeas, lima beans, black-eye beans. And I found that the Indians certainly know how to cook those. So it's just a matter of looking at alternatives. And if someone likes meat, wants to eat meat, I say it's your choice, but please try and get organic. And please try and eat a lot of vegetables so that you're calming down. You see, meat, when it's processed in the body, leaves an acid waste, and a lot of diseases thrive in an acid environment, whereas vegetables are alkalizing. So it's looking at showing them how they can do it. Some people, I say, why don't you try 1 day a week plants? You maybe make a lentil dish, and then when you get used to that, maybe 2 days a week have a legume dish, and
so do
ease them in.
So do you recommend raw vegetables or also cooked?
I aim myself for 50% raw, 50% cooked, because raw will deliver what cooked won't, and cooked will deliver what raw won't. And when you've got a very cold day, you need a little bit of hot food also in your stomach.
Yes, of course. And some food you have to cook, like lentil
That's
or
true.
beans.
And potatoes. Potatoes are no good unless they're cooked.
Yeah, of course. Okay, so let's discuss the gut. You talk a lot about how healthy gut are important for our immune system, for the health of the complete body. And sometimes we really don't realize that the immunity comes from the gut.
That's right. That's right. In fact, 70% of our immune system is established by our gut flora. And our gut flora is very important. And unfortunately today, many people are on medication, and the medication, it does break down that gut flora. Hippocrates, called the father of medicine, he said all disease begins in the gut, and I think that what he said is true. And yet he did not know what we know today about the importance of gut flora.
So if we take medicine, we have to for some kind of curing. Is it enough to take kako se kaže, probiotics?
Yes, probiotics. Probiotics.
Is it enough to protect the gut?
Well, ideally, I suggest stop the medication. And if a person's on medication, some can be stopped quickly, some cannot. Looking at what they are on, maybe going and finding a naturopath or nutritionist and looking at alternatives to the medication. Because the fact is that drugs don't cure disease. They mask symptoms, and in a crisis, a drug can save a life, granted. But drugs don't cure disease. So that's what I endeavour to teach people. See if you can find some alternatives, because, yes, the poor old gut, it doesn't do well on the drugs.
Yes, especially some drugs that can be avoided, of course, like, you know, for like the acid in the stomach, for example.
Yes.
People frequently use drugs for that, or, you know, for headaches. Or
Yes, it's unfortunate with the antacids on the gut, because the only part of our body that should be acid is the stomach. And I've never met anyone with too much acid. The problem is usually this little gate here. There's a bilayered gate there to stop the acid coming up. So then we say, well, why isn't the gate working? The gate's not working because many people eat their largest meal at the end of the day. So when they lie down, the food pushes against that little sphincter, weakening it, or they're drinking a lot of fluid with their meal that waters down the gastric juices, and so the food doesn't digest as quickly, or they're stressed. And when we're stressed out, our muscles tighten, and that little muscle tightens, and the contents can come up. So again, I like to see myself as a private investigator, investigating why a person would be experiencing these problems.
yes, the very big topic, as you mentioned, is what we think and what we feel. So the stress and the meaning that we are giving to the various situation, which obviously affects a lot, even causing the worst diseases. So how does actually our mental health influence our complete health, and what can we do about it?
It certainly does affect the body. Everything that we think affects our whole body. The same blood that's going through the brain is going through the body. And also the nervous system. The nervous system is an incredible network. And our thoughts affect every part of our body. So I say to people, if you say you can, you will. And if you say you can't, you're right, you won't. So it's a matter of the will and saying, I believe that I can conquer this. That's one of the first steps to conquering whatever's happening. And if the person says, I cannot, well, we can't do much with that. And I love the way the Bible says, in everything give thanks. So no matter where I am, no matter what's happening, I have learnt to be thankful. Because what else can you do?
Yes.
What else can you do? And that helps not to stress, because you think, I don't like this, I don't like where I am, but I'm trusting that out of this, I'll learn something.
Yes.
Out of this, maybe pathways will open that could not have opened before. And those simple thought processes can help much with preventing disease happening in the body because, some writers are claiming 9/10 of diseases start in the mind.
Yeah, so converting practically the negative thoughts into gratefulness.
That's right.
Yes,
right.
that's very important, and a lot of scientists and neuroscientists also teach that. So, but let's now analyze a little bit which diseases are mostly caused by the way we think and the way we feel about our relationships or about the way we live, about our circumstances that we sometimes could change and sometimes we couldn't.
Yes, yep. It's probably depression is a big one, and it's very big today. And I know that in 2020, when a lot of people were locked down, that really skyrocketed. But I saw a very refreshing thing on the television one night. I used to watch the news now and then to see what was going on, that music stores, they were getting big business because a lot of people being in lockdown decided to learn the guitar, decided to learn how to play the piano. I thought, wonderful, you can't change this situation, but you make the best of it. And earlier we talked about hormones, the hormonal imbalance, and I talked about how the displacement of progesterone. Progesterone is the happy hormone. So one of the side effects of this massive hormonal imbalance we're seeing today, when I say massive, I'm referring to the amount of people that are affected by it, that losing progesterone or displacing happy hormone is a big contributing factor to depression. So if a young woman says to me she has depression, my first question is to investigate her periods. Are they regular? Has she been on the pill? Because it's such a big contributing factor is the hormonal imbalance to depression. Yes,
sometimes for the problem of acne, girls are suggested to take the birth control pill.
Which is so unfortunate because it's an illustration of a drug masking a symptom but not healing it. And that's exactly what the pill is doing with acne. It's just it's just masking it. It is not healing it.
So what might be the reason for acne?
It's usually a hormonal imbalance because if you have a look when the acne begins, it's at puberty. So that is indicating a hormonal imbalance. So again, taking the herbs that can work with the body to restore balance will little by little clear up the skin.
Yeah, this is the place where we should mention that you have your official website because your name, the name of Barbara O'Neill, has been misused so many times. And you also had some fake profiles that were actually not, kako se to kaže, administrated by you or by anyone under your authority. So what is your real contact, let's say, and website and Instagram and Facebook?
So my official, and we were very happy to find the word official, it's officialbarbarao'neill.com. So officialbarbarao'neill.com is my true website. And from there, you can find all the true social media links. In fact, I was in the airport yesterday and a man said, Barbara O'Neill, I've chatted with you on TikTok. And my personal assistant, Jack, said, excuse me, but you haven't. It's a false site. Yes, I am on TikTok. I am on Instagram, but you will find the true sites on officialbarbarao'neill.com.
So also on TikTok, it's official Barbara O'Neill, and on Instagram as well.
Do you know, I have to say...
No, they're all different. Okay, then we will inform you. Obavestit ćemo. Da, on the web... Real Barbara O'Neill, tako je na Instagramu, Real Barbara O'Neill.
Yeah.
Yes, but there are all information on your website.
That's right.
Dakle, ako želite da imate punu informaciju.
I'm also revealing my great ignorance in technology.
Which is quite expected from the mother of 6 and grandma of 25 and grandma of 4. Okay, well, there are younger people who are very familiar with technology, so thanks God you have assistants.
Oh, yes, I've
and
got
children.
25 grandchildren to help me out.
Good. It's really a big blessing. This is maybe a moment we will be back to the important health issues such as osteoporosis and cancer and heart disease. But let's now mention how brave you are to give a birth to 6 children and to raise 2 more.
Yes. I've always loved babies. In fact, when I was a little girl at school, we had to draw what we wanted to be when we grew up. And I grew a mother with an apron, and all the teachers laughed at me.
A mother of an ape?
With an apron, that little... I just wanted to be in the home. And my sisters all had scrapbooks. My scrapbook was just of babies. So I love babies, so I very much enjoyed having my 6 babies. I was pregnant or breastfeeding non-stop for 14 years. I had 1 period between each baby because I breastfed for so long. And I had the great joy with my 5th baby of delivering him myself. And I had several home births because that's another area of great concern is what's happening with births of babies today, because it's a totally natural thing. It is not a disease. So we lived in a rainforest, which I'm very thankful for now. We didn't have electricity, but we had big gardens and the children were homeschooled. It was a really nice time, and it was certainly a learning time for me.
Yeah.
But I wanted to bring my children up as natural as possible.
So what did they think when they grew up? Were they grateful for having that kind of childhood, or did they regret and tell you, Mommy, why didn't you take us to school?
Well, I'm very, very thankful that every one of them is grateful of their upbringing, because when they went out into the workforce, I know my daughter Julia, she was in hospitality and they'd chop veggies half the day ready for the restaurant at night. And they'd all talk about their childhood, and they asked Julia, and she started to tell them about the rainforest and all the things we did in the rainforest. And they were spellbound. And the next day they said, tell us more. She said, what about your childhood? They said, we went to school, we came home, we watched television. We had boring childhoods. We want to know about yours. So I guess situations like that also showed them that.
Was it the rainforest in Australia?
It was.
Yeah.
It was.
Well, okay, that's great, because in your biography, in one of your books, I read that you were also having your hippie period. And probably that was about that time.
It was around that time, that's right.
Yes, and from your biography, you are certified in naturopathy and a nutritionist, nutritionism, let's say. But you started, let's say, your career as a psychiatric nurse. Is that true?
Yes, I worked as a psychiatric nurse for many years, and the last 18 months that I was there, I think it was about 4 years, I worked in the operating theatre, and then I left to have my first child.
So it was a long time ago.
That's right. My first child was born in 1976.
1976, yes. So back then, what were the psychiatrical problems that people have, let's say psychological problems that people have, comparing to today's contemporary life and our dilemmas?
Well, what I noticed as a psych nurse, and I worked in many different types of wards. I worked in the retarded ward. I worked in the night admission ward. So I worked in many. I worked in children's and adults, but I used to observe they had group therapies, people had come in, they'd medicate them, but the same people kept coming back. And yes, there were people with schizophrenia, and often it's because they'd played with recreational drugs. There were people who were definitely depressed, and then I liked the exploration work of finding out why this was happening to them, but it was really just drug therapy. And I noticed that when they were on medication, they almost turn into zombies, they just sit all day, they just sit. And I thought, there must be a better way than treating mental illness with medicine.
So do you dare saying something like that?
So I did discover a better way.
So what did you discover?
And I didn't discover this probably till about the mid-late 90s. I went to a lecture by Dr. Neil Nedley, and he's a He's an American GP who noticed a lot of his patients were depressed. So he started to do lifestyle changes on them because he's a functional doctor. He got them to drink more water. He got them to go to bed earlier, implement exercise programs, go on a more plant-based diet. He said if these lifestyle changes could even equal the effect of medication in managing depression, he would be happy. He said it far exceeded.
Yes. But obviously, the lifestyle, which seems to be normal and in accordance with our biological rhythm and with the nature, it is curing everything. It is guaranteeing health. But why do we not live properly?
I think the reason that we don't is we're in some probably not very good lifestyle habits. And when we're not drinking enough water, when we're going to bed too late, when the food isn't nourishing, the part of our brain where we make our decisions can be compromised. That's what's called the prefrontal cortex here. This is where our reason, intellect, judgment, and our will takes place. So I believe that's what does it. And we're in the habits. We're in the habit of doing certain things in certain ways. And what I like to teach is how you can rewire your brain, how you can change those habits. But the first place I start is let's start drinking more water. Let's have a look at how you can start drinking more water. Let's look at how you can start easing off the stimulants. Let's look at how we can change your lifestyle a bit to go to bed a little bit earlier. And when they start to do these things, they start to feel better. Yes. So now they're inspired, I can do this. I can actually start to implement these lifestyle changes.
Actually, the endocrinologist suggested I go to bed at 10 o'clock in the evening, which is probably suggestion to everyone in order to feel healthy and to normally produce all the hormones that our body needs.
Well, that is true. A lot of people don't realize there's all these processes that happened in the night that are responsible for rest, for regeneration, for restoration in the body. And when we're not getting that, little by little, that is contributing to the not only breaking down of the body, but the compromise of the mind.
So what happens if somebody goes to bed late and then sleeps during the day? Can he...
Well, unfortunately, he can't.
He can't.
He can't make up for it. And the reason is we'll take your summertime, which is between 10 and 3 a.m., there are 4 hormones that are released from the pineal gland, and they're only released in those hours. So if a person doesn't go to bed till midnight, say 1 a.m., sometimes they're only getting a third of those hormones. One is serotonin, the mood hormone. Another is melatonin, and that's the hormone that's responsible for increasing healing and restoration in those hours. So going to bed at midnight and getting up at 8 a.m., it's actually not going to do the same thing as going to bed at 10 p.m. and waking up at 6 a.m.
Yeah. Well, okay, let's go back to Australia, where you have been banned.
Yes.
Are you still banned there?
Yes.
Yes. And was it due to your husband's political party, Heart?
Well, it appears so. My husband gets a lot of questions. Why was Barbara banned? And he said, she's just getting people to drink more water, go to bed earlier, eat more plants. But actually, legally, there was something else, like goat milk. That's right. In fact, when they first brought the complaints in, my husband and I laughed because we thought, this is ridiculous. Goat milk. You see, if a woman can't breastfeed her baby, I suggest she try goat milk. Now, goat milk has been used for centuries. So Michael said to the authorities, so what's wrong with goat milk? And they said, it could be lethal. And he said, well, where's the evidence that it has killed anyone? And they said, well, while there is no evidence, it could.
Yes, but behind that was actually something else. And let me tell you what I found on internet. The name of your husband's political party is HEART, like heart, but it actually means health, environment, accountability, rights, transparency. And it was the party that supports alternative medicine, COVID-19 skepticism, climate change skepticism and opposes mandatory vaccination and water fluoridation. Am I right?
You're right.
And he was also accused of being guilty for something.
Yes, he was stopped at the airport one day and they went through his phone. He had to give them his password for his computer. They were sure they were going to find embezzlement of money and fraud, but they found nothing. So they certainly have tried, but he set up that political party really to just campaign for free choice for the people.
So I think the campaign against your husband and yourself coincided with the problems that Novak Djokovic actually had when he declared that everybody has the right to decide whether he's going to be vaccinated or not.
It is absolutely true. And I have to tell you, we were embarrassed the way Australia treated this man, because he is a mighty player, but I think he became even mightier when he took that stand. And we were so happy to see that when he did come back a few years later, he won. we were cheering that.
Yes, but did you win, actually? You were banned in Australia to talk about health issues.
That's right.
Are you still banned?
I am, but it seems to have been the catalyst to spread what I teach all over the world. So we see that I have not suffered from it. Our health retreat is still running and very popular because we have a great team there that implements all the principles. But when I was in Germany in 2021, a lady came up to me and she said, "Barbara, I'm hesitant to tell you this, but we're so glad you were banned because the band has freed you to come to us." And at that point, I had a light bulb moment. I thought, well, look at that. The ban has actually freed me.
Yes, to go all around the world.
It has.
So are there countries where you feel more welcome or those where you feel unwelcome?
Well, I have to tell you that every country I go into, the people welcome me. What the authorities think, I'm not really fussed on that. No. What the people think, that's what cheers my heart.
Yes, but due to internet, you can spread your teachings and what you feel healthy freely, yeah?
Yes, that is true.
Yes. So did you feel like a victim when this happened in Australia? How did you feel about it?
I cried when I got the message that I was banned, because all I've ever wanted to do was help people. And I allowed myself about 10 minutes to cry and mourn my loss. And then I wiped my tears and I said to my Father in heaven, "I know that you have allowed this, so I'm just waiting to see what you've got in store for me now." And we have a saying, when God closes a door, he opens a window. But an Italian man said to me, no, Barbara, we say when God closes one door, he opens two. And I think when that door was closed, far more than 2 doors were opened for me. Hundreds of doors were opened.
Yes. Actually, your husband, Michael O'Neill, he wrote a book, The Assassination of Barbara O'Neill, where he described that smear campaign against you led by the media and by those in the medicine who defend science in the medicine.
That's true.
As officially said.
That's true.
So tell us about this book and about this assassination.
Well, Michael wanted me to go to court because it was so unjust what happened, because they have found nothing that's worthy of prison. And I say, how can there be a crime when there is no victim and no one that has ever been to our retreat has ever been hurt or harmed or has a complaint? So he wanted to go to court. But then we found out it was going to cost us a lot of money. And so out of frustration, he wrote the book. He said, I want the world to know there's been an injustice done. And so he wrote the book, The Assassination of Barbara O'Neill. It can be read in an hour. And recently, in fact, it was a couple of months ago, a senator who just read the book moved in Parliament, that Parliament investigate the Healthcare Complaints Commission and their ban on me. So I don't know if something will come out of this. Maybe the ban will be turned around, but it won't really affect my life because the demand for me to speak overseas is we cannot fill every request.
Yeah, so they cannot prevent you from speaking out of Australia.
No.
Or spreading it on internet.
No.
Of course, or giving lectures in various countries.
No.
So it was actually unjust. And what do you think, the part of which campaign do we have to say that? or we already understood?
Well, I think that it was unjust because no one has ever been hurt. It's all maybes.
And it was actually not about the goat milk.
No, it really wasn't about the goat's milk. I mean, in Australia, we all grew up on the story of Heidi. Heidi up in the Swiss Alps, and Clara got better from drinking goat's milk. That's why it's ludicrous. And I've met so many mothers that have said to me their baby had eczema, asthma, crying half the day. They put the baby on goat's milk and they have a changed baby. You see, goat's milk in its basic structure is very similar to human milk.
Yes, and as you mentioned, asthma, it's a big problem, and let's talk a little bit more about our lungs and the dairy products and the milk itself, the cow milk.
Well, the Australian figures on cow's milk allergy are about 60% of Australians have an allergy to cow's milk. I think if that was raw organic, the allergies would come down to maybe 30%. So the milk in the supermarket is very different to raw organic cow's milk. If you give a newborn calf the milk in the supermarket, that calf will die. So that just shows there's a big difference. But not only that, I don't have any dairy in my heritage, and I can't handle cow's milk. So there are
your predecessors, they didn't eat dairy products?
No. And
why not?
I'm Scottish English descent. Obviously, it wasn't a part. Obviously, my ancestors weren't dairy farmers. But I have met people whose ancestors were dairy farmers, and they can happily drink a whole glass of milk. So it's got a lot to do with our genes, our history. That certainly helps. But I maintain that God put milk into mammals to feed their babies. If people say, what milk do you drink? I say, I'm weaned. I eat food.
Yeah, but when you mentioned the allergies on cow milk, is it because of the additives and of the changes processing brings, or is it some kind of mineral or lactose?
It is. Well, it's again, it's got a lot to do with your heritage. Some people, granted, can handle it. Some people, like myself, I cannot. So it's got a bit to do with the heritage, but also what they're doing to the milk. And that's why I said 60% of Australians can't have some sort of allergic reaction or intolerance to cow's milk. But if it was raw organic, it would bring it to 30.
Yes.
So it is what they're doing to it, but it is in our genes.
Yes, and so also not the dairy products such as yogurt, kefir, or.
Well, the yogurt and the kefir and the feta, they are almost pre-digested. They're cultured foods. So myself, I can handle a well-made dairy yogurt, but I cannot drink a glass of cow's milk. But dairy holds a very minimal part of my diet. I rarely eat it.
Yeah, but how can one know if he is allergic to milk and dairy products? Is there any test?
I don't suggest tests. I teach people to be mindful of their body and their body's reactions. Yeah. So for a child, eczema and asthma are two very common symptoms of an allergy to dairy. So changing over to goat and the child improves, that's all you need to do.
But there are some scientists that say that having asthma has something to do with your relationship with mother. So do you know anything about it? And back to how our relationships and what we think affects our body.
I'm so hesitant to blame the mother, being a mother myself, that I believe the majority of mothers do the very best they can, and I think most people realize that. I think that emotions can tip the scale, but that's the hardest area to deal with is emotions. So I like to get the body and the mind working well through lifestyle and then start to explore areas that might have an emotional aspect.
Mm-hmm. So let's be specific and let's give advice to all those who haven't practiced any healthy lifestyles so far. What are the most important changes they could do right now?
We've touched on a couple of them. Absolutely starting to drink more water. That's an easy place to start. And going to bed earlier. That's
going to bed earlier.
Yes,
okay.
and start aiming for a little bit earlier, and implementing an exercise program.
Mm-hmm.
The body must move, and stagnant bodies breed disease just like stagnant pools do. So we need to implement an exercise program and eat more plants, and ideally organic as much as possible. A lot of foods today, even a tomato, it can, if it's sprayed, if it's been genetically modified, it's not like eating a tomato that's been organically grown non-GMO. So going as much as possible over to organic and implementing more fruits and vegetables.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Barbara O'Neill, jedan od najpoznatijih svetskih naturopata i nutricionista i zagovornica prirodne medicine i zagovornica učenja da je naše telo u stanju da se samo isceli i izleči, a ona će i u ovom podcastu sada i ovde pokušati da da odgovore na neka pitanja kako da podstaknemo svoj organizam da bude dobro, jer, kako ona kaže, mi smo dizajnirani da budemo zdravi. So, Barbara, once again, thanks for being here on the Hype TV in Now and Here. The name of my program is Now and Here. So, let's talk more about some other foods and the things that we take to our bodies. My colleagues asked me about coffee. That is one of the favorite drinks around the world, and especially here on the Balkans. So what's your opinion of the coffee?
Well, there's coffee and there's coffee. I certainly do acknowledge that. I just know at our health retreat, in the first 24 hours, I see people suffer so keenly coming off coffee.
Yes, me too, whenever I went to diet.
It causes a crisis response in the body. And that crisis response disrupts several neurotransmitters in the brain, and the body has to keep adjusting to that so that when it's stopped, because of that previous adjustments it's made, you get a bit of a blast of blood into the brain, and that's the headache. I see people suffer more from caffeine withdrawals than any other withdrawal at our retreat. Now, they recover quicker. Obviously, the heroin addict and the methamphetamine addict and the alcoholic and the smoker, they take a little bit longer to recover. The coffee drinker recovers quite quickly. But it is an illustration to show that it causes dramatic changes in the neurotransmitters in the brain. Now, a lot of people say to me, I love my coffee, just gets me going in the morning, gets my brain going. I said, yeah, they're the neurotransmitters that are disrupted because the body thinks it's in a crisis. But because there's no crisis, the body actually has to adapt and adjust back to that. So what happens with coffee? It's a major disruptor of the neurotransmitters in the brain. So eventually the adrenal glands are exhausted. Eventually the person can be much more prone to depression because especially the dopamine levels are disrupted with coffee. But my son-in-law, when he went to Italy, he had a cup of coffee that caused him no reaction because he doesn't usually drink coffee. And then he discovered that there is a way to make coffee, Apparently it's the traditional Italian way, and it's the way the beans are packed. It's the speed that the steam shoots through the beans that you can actually make a cup of coffee that has very little bitterness, indicating very little caffeine. But it is quite an art. My daughter worked in an Italian restaurant. She ran one for a long time. I said, "Can you make it?" She said, "No, I've tried and tried." She said, "I've only got one waiter that can do it."
So you think espresso coffee, the Italian way, is less harmful?
Well, if it is done in the traditional way, it has very little caffeine. See, the problem's the caffeine.
So the caffeine is the problem, yeah. I'm waiting for my caffeine dosage. I'm so sorry, but I have to take some caffeine. It keeps me awake, and you will describe if I'm wrong and why and how it makes that effect. So here in Serbia, we are preparing coffee differently. I don't know if you know. We just cook it in the pot. And it's quite dense.
Well, it sounds like it would be high in caffeine.
Yes, I think so. Why is caffeine not good for us, and why is it good?
Well, I can't think of any reason why it is good, though a lot of people think it is good because it wakes them up. But my question is, well, why do you need to be woken up? So I get my energy from going to bed early, keeping well hydrated. Jack and I have done our walk up hills to get our high intensity. I dived into the very cold pool when I got back. That's where I get my energy levels from. And these ways that I get my energy levels are lasting. So I've just turned 72 and I feel great. Mm-hmm. I don't need that coffee hit, and I believe it's because of the way I live. And a lot of people say, "Oh, Barbara, I don't want to go to bed that early. I don't want to drink that much water. I don't want to get up and exercise every day." I say to them, you choose your hard. Mm-hmm. Yes, it is hard keeping fit, but it's also hard to be obese.
Yes,
so
of course.
the problem with the caffeine, it is really a quick fix. But eventually the neurotransmitters in the brain, because of the constant disruption, they're depleted. They're not as sparky as they should be. And this is why a lot of people, after being on coffee for several years, let's say several decades is probably better, their energy levels aren't very good. They're not sleeping very well. And they say, "I don't know what's the matter with me. I'm almost tired." And I say, "Well, it could be the coffee." They say, No. The coffee's good. It gives me the lift. But what happens is that lift it gives you, you think, where's it coming from? It's coming from your adrenal glands. So eventually there's adrenal exhaustion. And because caffeine has an acid effect on the body leaches calcium out of the bones to negate the acid residue. Mm-hmm. And so it's little by little weakening the bones, weakening the teeth, weakening the adrenal glands, disrupting the neurotransmitters. So, sorry, I can't think of any good bits.
Okay, well, how about the decaf?
Unfortunately, many decafs are extracted with chemicals, but I do hear, and I am told there's a Swiss water extraction coffee that apparently is a lot more kosher.
Because people are used to it. They use it as rituals.
True.
They like the taste. They join the taste with a certain feeling.
That's true.
I think it's even more difficult to take away that kind of feeling and ritual.
Yes, I agree with that. So I've said, and in his book, Kachansky's book, The Caffeine Blues, because that's what he shows, caffeine eventually causes the blues. It gives you a lift and then a dump. He's got a chapter called Coming Off the Bean. And he shows
off the bean.
If you have 3 cups of coffee a day, make 3 cups of coffee, but only half a teaspoon of coffee and half a teaspoon of something like roasted chicory or roasted dandelion. It's got a similar taste. Mm-hmm. And he says you can come off those 3 cups of coffee a day by a little less coffee and a little bit more of the roasted roots of vegetables, and within a week you can be off without any pain and suffering. And so then use the dandelion coffee. I know in Australia there's a shop that sells LSD. It's latte soy dandelion. So it's like a latte, but it's made with organic soy milk, and it's made with the roasted dandelion root.
How do you actually live when you are abroad? You're abroad for 9 months. You travel around the world. And how do you feed yourself? Where do you find food? How do you continue your healthy lifestyle?
I was able to pluck two figs off a tree this morning. When we were in, where were we? We were in Wokefield Estate. That was near Reading in London last week. And on my morning walk, we found blackberries, we found pear trees, we found plum trees. I love to eat fruit in its natural state.
So you just pick the fruit from the tree?
And eat. Flavor's incredible. Of course, that can't always happen. So wherever I am, I'm looking for food in its natural state. Wherever I aim for 8 hours sleep every night. I aim for between 9 and 10 going to sleep. I like to, my favorite is going to bed at 9 and waking at 5. And when I wake at 5, that allows me to pray, do some Bible study, do some stretches. And then Jack and I usually walk at 6. And ideally, I try and find a lake or a sea or a pool and have a cold dunk. That always wakes me up, makes me feel very good. And I think that that's the reason why I'm able to do what I do, that I keep to my exercise program. I keep to the going to bed early, to drinking adequate water, to having as much plant food as I can. In fact, we even had a fairly reasonable meal in the airport yesterday. I got a pesto pasta, we got peas and steamed broccoli, we got a lovely salad, we got some potatoes.
So it doesn't matter, it's not organic.
Well,
you cannot always find
as
organic.
long as it's mostly organic. Sometimes you just can't. You do the best that you can.
Yes. So what kind of food preparation do you recommend?
Well, I think everyone should be thinking of breakfast before they go to bed. So that if you need to do a little bit of prep, that you can. And one of the things that you can do the night before is put your beans on. So whether it be lentils or chickpeas or lima beans. The worst time to think about breakfast is 5 minutes before breakfast. So a little bit of prep overnight. And for people who aren't early risers like me, but I find that if you can have a light or no evening meal and go to bed early, you will get up earlier. But for people who are very busy, slow cookers can be very helpful, cooking maybe rice or beans or whatever you like to have for breakfast overnight. So it's a little bit of preparing, thinking about it before it happens.
And I thought maybe if you prefer steam or fried or baked, I love steamed, I love stir fry, and I love baked. That would probably what I would mostly do. Okay, so a lot of people think about how some oils are unhealthy and some of them are healthy. So what do you think about that for everyday use?
Well, I like to look a little bit at history, and history tells us of some oils that have stood the test of time, and that is coconut oil and olive oil. They're probably the two oils I mostly use. My favourite is olive. I really like olive oil. And it must be extra virgin, cold pressed. But the oils that are dangerous are the cheap seed oils. So that's canola oil, soy oil, sunflower oil, peanut oil. You'll see them. They're the cheapest in the supermarket. They've been extracted using high heat chemical equipment, which really has totally destroyed the oil. And those altered oils, those oils that have been really ruined, they are contributing to damage in the arterial wall, which is contributing to heart disease.
So how do we prepare food if we fry it?
Well, I like to put my olive oil in at the end of my dish, but if you are going to fry, the coconut is best. Being a saturated fat, it's light and heat sensitive, and it can handle the heat.
So you mean coconut is usually like the fat, it's not like the oil?
Yeah, as soon as you put it in the pan, it'll melt.
Of course, sure. But what I know of coconut is usually some kind of a butter. It looks like a butter,
Yeah,
like a
yeah.
fat, not like oil. Okay. Let's not forget to talk about arteries and heart. And as the conversation goes, you mention the important things. So the heart diseases and the cardiovascular diseases are one of the top risks for death in the world.
They are. They're the number one killer in the world today and have been for quite a few years. And the theory, and remember it is only a theory and it's not a theory that I agree with, is that it's cholesterol. And so the pharmaceutical company have made an absolute fortune out of cholesterol-lowering medications. But it's still the number one it's still the number one killer in the world today. But there are very eminent doctors like Dr. Malcolm Kendrick. There are several others, Dr. Dwight Lundell, Dr. Peter Dingle. From all over the world, these doctors are showing that cholesterol doesn't cause heart disease. What causes heart disease is damage to the arterial wall. And whenever the arterial wall is damaged, there's a response by the body to heal it or remedy that. And it's the same process we see when we cut our skin, clotting. So there's a clotting. The platelets clot together, the blood cells clot together, fibrin comes in and forms a clot. But then what is fascinating is if we're drinking adequate water, we're eating well, no more poisons come in, it heals. And little by little, that clot can be taken away. But if the cheap seed oils continue, if the chemicals continue, and many people are poisoning themselves with what they're washing their clothes in, what they're washing their bodies in, what they're cleaning their bathrooms with. So these environmental poisons, little by little, they come in, damage the arterial wall, and then that clotting happens and that builds up, it narrows the blood vessel. But also the high carbohydrate, high sugar diet is contributing as well.
So what is healthy for our arteria and what should we eat? Okay, reduce what you mentioned, but...
What we should eat is a high fiber diet, lots of fruits and vegetables. But also generous proteins, and my proteins come from legumes, olives, nuts and seeds, and good fats. And the good fats are your nuts, seeds, olives, coconuts, olive oil, coconut oil. That's the balanced diet. But unfortunately today, because I think we're such a fast society, people just grab the fast food. And the fast food is cereal, bread, pasta, muffins, croissants. It's too many carbohydrates.
So what are carbohydrates bad for?
Carbohydrates aren't bad. It's just when they're overdone. So a lot of people that come to our retreat, it's cereal and toast for breakfast, sandwiches for lunch, pasta for tea, cookies, biscuits, donuts, mid-morning, mid-afternoon. That is just overdoing one food group, the carbs. Now, I certainly like bread, but I don't eat much. But I eat a lot of fruits and vegetables. I try and eat legumes every day, the oils and the nuts and the seeds every day, and I eat a little bit of carbohydrate.
Okay. Well, one important aspect of health is avoiding to have cancer. And cancer is really frequent past few decades. Why has it increased?
It certainly is. It's neck to neck with the number one killer. You know, sometimes heart disease is up high, sometimes cancer. And I think that word cancer strikes fear in many hearts. And there is not just one cause. There's multiple, and it can be different in different people. Definitely there's a contributing factor with the endocrine cancers like breast cancer, uterine cancer, prostate cancer. There's a hormone factor there. And that high estrogen that becomes high because of what we talked about previously. That's a big contributing factor to the cancers. Also, we find a lot of people are dehydrated. That's contributing. A lot of people are exposed to chemicals. Chemicals get into the body and damage. So there's a whole lot of factors there that come into play. And the research now is showing you can only blame 5% on genetics.
So it's the lifestyle.
Genetics may load the gun, but it is lifestyle that pulls the trigger. It gets back to lifestyle. That's true.
Yeah. And the big issue is insulin. We mentioned estrogen, we mentioned progesterone, but the insulin disorder is very frequent. The so-called insulin resistance and combined with PCO. So why is that, and how to overcome?
It's getting back again to the high carbohydrate diet that many are eating. I don't think anyone chose to eat this way. Excuse me. It just developed because it's just so handy.
Yeah.
See, down on the farm, the carbohydrates are not the fast foods because it takes time to make bread, takes time to make pies, takes time to make pasta, takes time to make the cereal. But so many people live in the city now, and it's just easy. You know, they're late for work, they go past the cake shop, they can grab a croissant and a coffee, they can grab a muffin and a coffee.
Yes.
Too much sweet. And then lunchtime, they just grab a sandwich or a pasty or a muffin and when you analyze the food, it's just high carbohydrate, high sugar. And insulin resistance sets up because the cell's actually resisting insulin because it's just too much. So high insulin is just in a reaction or response to the high carbohydrate, high sugar people are eating.
So can it be reversed once you change your diet?
It certainly can, and we see it again and again and again at our retreat. In fact, within 48 hours, every diabetic is having to drop their insulin, having to reduce their medication, because we don't give people a high carbohydrate diet.
So even the diabetes get better after 2 days. 2 days of diet.
Well, we see improvement.
Improvement.
The type 1 will take a little bit longer. The type 2, depending on age, depending on weight, depending on their cooperation to do what you got to do. That's why I say you choose your hard. You might think it's hard to greatly reduce the carbohydrates, but it's hard being a diabetic.
Of course. We are talking a lot about longevity, and there are a lot of people who are actually old, even if they don't feel old, but their organs, their body is getting old. So what do you recommend for older people?
I find that it's predominantly in older people, they don't want to drink water. And they don't want to drink water because they don't want to have an accident.
So they don't want to go to the toilet. Yeah.
So I say to them, you have water little by little by little by little. You drink that cup all at once, you might have an accident. But also exercise is what keeps the muscles strong. And so their organs and their muscles are getting weak. And, of course, the muscles are what help to hold the organs in place. And I find that people who are looking good, feeling great in their latter years, it's because of their lifestyle, particularly hydration and exercise. They'd probably be two of the most important. Sleep's not far behind of that because our body needs to restore and revive every night. And if we're not getting adequate sleep, it can't happen.
Yes, but older people usually sleep a lot. They feel sleepy and they don't have much to do, most of them. So they sleep. That's not a problem.
Yes, the reason is because of the last 20, 30 years. The last 20, 30 years, they didn't get enough sleep, and now they're, I guess, reaping the results of that.
So what is your recommendation for longevity and for biohacking?
Well, what I have coined it in an acronym called Sustain Me. because I find that that's what it does, which is
That's the name of your book.
Yeah, which is sunshine, use of water, sleep, trust in God, abstain from anything harmful, inhale through the nose, nutrition, moderation in all the good things, and exercise. And that is a formula. People say to me, how do you do it? How do you travel for 9 months a year? And my response is, I've found a formula. And I abide by that formula. Yes, there might be some long flights where I don't get quite enough sleep, but it's not the odd day that might happen. And it's the odd day it doesn't happen. It's what you do every day. So I find that because I adhere to this every day, it doesn't really throw me too much if I have a long flight and can't get the sleep.
So did any of your kids inherit your abilities, your knowledge? Do they go your path and continue your work?
I find that whenever I visit my children, the youngest I think is about 37, something like that. The oldest is 49.
This is great. You cannot even remember how old your children are.
It's all about there, around that age. I certainly know my youngest daughter, because I was 30 when she was born, so she's 42. So the next one down would be 40. The next one down would be 38. So the youngest is 38. So when I visit them, they always say, Mum, come and look at my tomatoes. They're all growing their own little bits and pieces, even though a lot of them in the city. They're all very good water drinkers. They all eat well. So I guess the effect of their childhood has more of an effect than most of us think.
Healthy habits.
Yes.
But do they do what you do? Are they going to heal and spread knowledge on healthy lifestyles?
I don't know. I see it in the girls. I've got 3 girls. I certainly see it in the girls. My stepdaughter, Michaela, she's the accountant. So her area of expertise is more in the accounting area, but she still is a plant-based girl and likes her plant foods. The boys, I see with their children, it's mostly plant-based, and they all made the decision not to give their children the childhood jab. So I guess those decisions indicate to me that they're on the healthy pathway.
Yes. So what would you, what would be your message to older people? How do they stick? Because some say that we are designed to live 120 years.
Yes.
Is that possible, and how?
It's quite possible. My grandmother died at 99. My father died at 92. So,
but today, is it sustainable with the lifestyle we have?
Do you know, it's possible. Yeah, I think it certainly is possible if the person gives their body the right conditions. It's also a matter of keeping away from chemical poisons, and it's difficult to do today because they're everywhere. That it's just being mindful on all these little areas that contribute to us, to making us who we are.
So, Barbara, before we end this conversation for this time, there is a lot of talking about castor oil. So why is it so good, and what for?
Why is it so good? It penetrates deeper than any other oil, and wherever it penetrates, it can break up lumps, bumps, adhesions, congestion. It'll even break up bone spurs. One lady showed me how it broke up her bunion on the side of her foot. I've known it to break up kidney stones, to break up gallstones.
But how?
It penetrates deep. No, not by drinking it, but by applying it to the skin.
To the skin.
So you can apply it, but it's so sticky, you will need to just sit there for 10 minutes to rub it in, because it takes a while to rub in. So what we advise is using it as compresses, which is several layers of cloth, moistening it with the castor oil. It can take 10, 15 minutes to even soak through that, and then apply it to the area, cover it with plastic to protect the clothing, and then bandage it on. So we've seen ladies with fibroids. It breaks up the fibroids, not overnight. It might take several months. All depends on how big they are. Endometriosis, it can help to break that up.
But from the skin or
From
inside?
the skin. No,
vaginally?
no. Only outside, on the abdominal area. So it penetrates through. Even to the skull, if there's a brain tumor, it can penetrate through the skull. I've met ladies and seen it happen too, conquering their breast cancer by applying the castor oil compress. One lady said she just wore that castor oil compress 24/7.
So it's the compress, it's not rubbing in? Or
No.
you first rub in, or you
Well,
just
if
compress?
you rub it in, you can only get a little bit in. But if you put a compress on, see, the thicker the compress, the more castor oil it can hold, and the more castor oil can go into you.
Okay. So any other fast remedy that you can share with us?
So looking again at ladies with breast cancer, balancing the hormones and applying the castor oil and implementing the Sustain Me principles. So many ladies with endometriosis and fibroids and cysts on the ovaries, castor oil compresses on the abdominal area and balancing the hormones with the wild yam cream. So using those together, balancing the hormones back because it was an imbalance that caused these problems, but at the same time applying the castor oil compress. Ladies with, or men too, with constipation, it can help to soften the inside of the colon. Again,
also through the stomach?
Always through on the outside.
And how about rubbing into the vagina or anus? Is that okay? Because I heard some recommendations that you can also massage your vulva and your anus.
That's right. And that can be very helpful around the anus for hemorrhoids.
Okay, cool. Well, we will leave some things for my other program where you will be also participating. It's the TV show Male stvari, where we can talk more maybe about the bones. We didn't have opportunity to talk about that. And where we will, of course, talk about the biological stomatology, very interesting field on how our teeth and our mouth influence the whole health and the whole body. Barbara O'Neill, thank you very much for being with us on the Hype TV.
Thank you, it's been good.
Hvala i vama što ste nas gledali. Barbara O'Neill, jedan od najvećih, ako smem tako da kažem, influencera na svetu u domenu naturopatije, zdravog života, prirodne medicine i nutricionizma, bila je danas sa nama u podcastu Sada i ovde, na Hype televiziji i na YouTube-u. Pošto je ovaj intervju titlovan, odnosno preveden, preporučite ga i onima koji ne govore engleski jezik i verujem da će im biti koristan. Hvala što nas gledate, hvala divna vodi koju smo pili i koju pijemo na Hype televiziji i pratite nas i preko naših portala i preko naših društvenih mreža. Doviđenja.